It is our mission, our calling, to tell the story, but in order to tell the story, it is our important responsibility to prepare to tell the story well and effectively. The responsibility to prepare to tell the story is something that consumes one's life and should be the organizing central principle of one's professional work as a pastor of a church, as somebody who is engaged in professional ministry in some capacity. It is important to establish a disciplined way of structuring one's life and work in order to be well prepared to tell the story. And I tell you that because it's a lesson I've had to learn the hard way in my own career in ministry. Let me give you one example of what kinds of things can go wrong if one fails to be disciplined about scheduling the time and the tasks to prepare the story, to tell the story effectively. Back in the early 1990s, I already had a couple of decades under my belt as a career as a United Methodist pastor. I was, by that time, serving as a district superintendent in a United Methodist district in northeastern Pennsylvania. So I knew my responsibilities to prepare to tell the story, and in fact, I knew that the following Sunday I was scheduled to preach at one of the local churches on the district. But the week had a way of driving in different directions, and I did not sufficiently discipline myself to prepare well to tell the story. Now, it happens that another piece of my life and background with which you wouldn't be acquainted is that from the time I was a high school student, I developed a love for basketball. And the high school coach made it clear to me I wasn't good enough to play, but he turned me into a scout. So I developed disciplined habits of watching basketball. And then when I went to Duke University as an undergraduate, I became a fanatic about college basketball. Now, on this particular week in the early 1990s, when I was a district superintendent and scheduled to preach at a local church and should have known better about preparing well so that I could tell the story on Sunday, I hadn't prepared well. And Saturday night, there was a regional final basketball game scheduled between Duke University's Blue Devils and the Wildcats of Kentucky. I already know that many of you in the room know that is, by most accounts, still described as the greatest basketball game ever played. And I knew what was going to happen. I had not prepared well. So, I told myself, you cannot turn on the television. You must finish preparing that sermon for tomorrow. And I didn't turn on the television until about 6:30 because I figured the game started 3 hours ago. It's over. I'll just find out what the final score was. I turned on the television and at that point realized Duke and Kentucky were going into overtime. I watched the overtime. Each team scored back and forth. 2.1 seconds left. Kentucky scores on a tremendous play. Kentucky is now ahead. Duke calls timeout. And my telephone rings. So I took the call in the kitchen, television off to the side of the room, pushed the mute button on the television remote, picked up the phone, answered it, and it was one of the pastors in the district. I'm watching the screen, listening to the preacher. Bill, he says into the phone, there's going to be an announcement made at my church tomorrow. Commercial is ending. I'm watching the screen. I think you ought to know, he says into my ear, about this announcement because you may be getting some calls about it. The referee hands the ball to Grant Hill under the basket. Grant Hill reaches back with his hand to throw a baseball past 3/4 of the length of the court. The ball is in the air. In my ear, I hear this voice saying, "It's probably going to upset a number of people when this announcement is made." Christian Leitner catches the pass. A Kentucky player, for reasons that will never be explained until Jesus returns again, pulls back instead of playing defense on Leitner. Leitner fakes left, dribbles right. Tomorrow morning, I hear in my ear, the announcement will be made at church. Leitner turns and shoots. And in my ear, I hear the following words, that my wife and I are getting a divorce. Ball goes through the net. There is a United Methodist minister in Pennsylvania today who will tell you that if you call your district superintendent and tell him that you're getting a divorce, what you will hear on the other end of the phone is, "Yes!"